Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Josh here again from Cast Strength, coming at you from Austin, Texas, just to spread some of that spicy whiskey ginger love. That's right, we're keeping it nice and spicy with the ginger love here on Cast Strength. I've got another drained Drams review for you here today. 3 12-year-old scotches, and what we're doing on the drained Drams, instead of taking our first impressions from the bottle, just popping the cork, giving a pour and telling you what we think, we wait until we finish the entire bottle, get to the very end, spend some time with it, and end up giving you our final thoughts. Right, so the first one I have today is Glengoyne, 12-year-old, single malts, obviously all malted barley, distilled in the Highland area of Scotland from the city of Drams. And Glengoyne, I believe, means the Glen of the Wild Geese. This bottle comes in at 43%, and it's like all Glengoyne, it's a relatively light, gentle, subtle, sweet kind of malt. There's a lot of fruity citrus, like apple and lemon, a little hint of caramel and toffee in there, a little bit of coconut as well, but mostly it's this kind of light, fruity, citrusy whiskey. And they achieve that, in part at least, from running the slowest stills in Scotland, as they put it, which I take. My understanding is that they run their distillation process at a relatively low temperature for a longer time to encourage only the lightest components of the spirit to come through. So that really does show up in the 12-year. It's overall a nice light whiskey, but in my opinion, it kind of pales in comparison to the more rich and elegant 18, 21, and 25-year-old expressions. I haven't had any older Glengoyne than that because God knows how expensive that might be. But overall, it is a nice light whiskey. It just doesn't really live up to its older, bigger brothers. I've also had the 15-year before. I would actually take this 12-year over the 15-year because although they are a little different and there is a little bit more age obviously evident in the 15, to me they're not different enough to really warrant the price increase over the 12. So I would say save your money over the 15-year and get the 12 instead. In terms of a final thought, a final score, although this is quite good whiskey, I really got to go like a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, perfectly good whiskey. I just know what the older bottlings are capable of, given a little bit more time in the cask. It's a substantial price increase to jump up to the 18, and especially the 21 and 25. They do get significantly more expensive. So that would be a reason to pick up the 12-year-old. Judged against other whiskeys in its class and in its price range, it's still a very good pick. I just know how engaging those older bottlings of Glengoyne whiskey are, which, I mean, especially you get into the 21 and the 25, they are magical, fantastic whiskeys. So to me, it's really that comparison against their older, more expensive bottles that makes me feel like this is so much of a step down. Although if I judge it against other 12-year-olds, I'd say it does really quite well and is worth your time if you want something that's a little bit lighter, fruity, more citrusy. Go ahead and give it a try. Right, so the second one that I have here is from a different region. It's from Campbelltown, and this is Kilkerran 12-year-old, another single malt whiskey. This one comes in a little bit higher ABV, 46%, which to me, you know, makes a significant difference. Even 3 or 6 points more of the ABV can really add a lot of texture and a lot of drama and complexity and make the overall impression that you get from the whiskey a little bit more engaging. So this one is 70% matured in ex-bourbon casks and the 30% in ex-sherry cask. The Kilkerran distillery was actually closed for almost 80 years until they reopened it in 2004. So you don't see a whole lot of Kilkerran bottles. I've only ever had one other, the Sherrywood all sherry release. And they make an 8-year-old cask strength as well that I've heard some good things about. But this bottle in particular was recommended by our friend Roy from Aquavite as one of his favorite go-to whiskeys. So I figured I'd give it a try based on his recommendation. I'd say versus the Glengoyne that I just talked about, this one's a little more oily and rich versus the light, fruity Glengoyne. Still has, of course, being a younger whiskey, that 12 years old, retains some of those citrus and vanilla type notes, but you add in this light smoke and brine and then a slightly funky note that lends it a little bit more complexity versus just kind of the light and friendly Glengoyne. Makes it a little bit more interesting. And of course, the couple of extra points of ABV brings that extra body, a little bit more viscosity to the whiskey, which is ultimately kind of a more satisfying experience, in my opinion. So overall, I'm going to score it a little bit higher than the Glengoyne 12. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty reasonably priced. It's a complex malt for a 12-year-old, and it's kind of an interesting, kind of off the beaten path choice from a little bit of a lesser known distillery. So if you want to try something or maybe bring something to a whiskey tasting that'll capture some people's imagination a little bit more and something to pique people's curiosity, this would be a good selection. Oh yeah, there it is. Just it's so much more dramatic and funky, whereas the Glengoyne is just all bright and citrusy and light, which is great. That's a friendly kind of thing, but this is just so much more interesting. Oh yeah. Again, that's salty, slightly funky, little hint of smoke in here. It's not, I wouldn't say it's very peaty, but there's definitely a hint of peat smoke here. Oh, of course, save the corks. Always save your corks, boys and girls. Right, so the last one, and I hope I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Aberlour? Aberlour. We'll go with Aberlour. 12-year-old. Again, another Highland single malt. Ex-bourbon and ex-sherry cask maturation. This one comes in at 40%, which is a little bit of an issue for me. Of course, that's the bare minimum for a whiskey in Scotland and in most places in the world. Now, its flavor profile, it's very typical. If you've had Aberlour before, it's typically juicy and fruity, very sweet, kind of rich, dessert-like. All of those ripe red fruits and a little bit of spiciness in there as well. But overall, this just felt a little bit wanting to me. The low proof makes it seem a little simple in terms of, the flavors are not very complex. Just lacking. It's like what flavors are there are good, but it feels like it's just been watered down a little too much to me. It's not bad whiskey per se, but it's just really underwhelming whiskey to me. For a bit more money, I'd go with the older offerings from Glengoyne. Like I said, the 18-year-old would be a great choice. Stuff from Glendronach, like the 15 or the 18 Allardyce Glendronach is fantastic. Or even the Aberlour Abuna, which is, they release batches of cask strength, heavily sherried Aberlour whiskey. So those tend to be much, much better and much more engaging and interesting and full flavored than this 12-year-old. So overall score, I'm going to give it it's a 6 out of 10. It's not bad. It's good enough to drink. It's fine, but I'm just not compelled to buy it again. There's many, many other bottles that I would go for before buying another bottle of this Aberlour 12. Right, so I think that's it. We got 3 12-year-old scotches on our Drams review today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Have you had any of these? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Put it all down in the comments below. Go and check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/thecaststrength. I have an Instagram, and Vito also has an Instagram, which I'll put the links below here. If you guys want to follow us on there, we're always posting about what we're doing, some fun whiskey photography, and going out to events and things like that. You'll always see it on there. So yeah, I think that's it. That'll do it, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.